Welcome to the Hire Truckers Podcast, where we interview experts in driver recruiting. We provide industry insights, marketing trends, and motivation to help you level up your recruiting game. Welcome to the Hire Truckers Podcast. I'm your host, Craddock, and today I have Tracy Rushing on with us from Garrison. She's been in the industry over 28 years, started with weighing trucks, and now is the Director of Safety and HR at Garrison. And so And Tracy's been a client of ours for a while, and I had a chance to go out to their safety summit recently with Ginger on our team. And so some swag I have from that is this Garrison truck, which I am a huge fan of little trucks. And so when I found out that was in my bag when we were there, I was just pumped. So thank you so much, Tracy, for jumping on today, and thank you for the truck.
Thanks for having me.
So one of the things that came up at the banquet with your team, which I loved, just culturally, just how Garrison, just all the employees just love being there, and how much you care for your team. Like, it was a standout. Like, I visited, hundreds of fleets in my career, and yeah, just impressed with just their excitement and enthusiasm. And that all starts with leadership. And so one of the fun things you did at the Safety Awards banquet was something involving a turtle. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So this year at the Safety Summit, we met for the first time ever, Terry the truck and turtle. And something that I heard back at the TCA annual meeting this year was that there was a fleet that had come up with kind of a mascot that they really kind of rallied their team around. And we started kicking that around. And about 2 years ago, there was a video that was captured from one of our tractors where a car came to an immediate halt on the highway, and the driver realized, even though it was, a roadway incident, nobody was hurt, thank goodness, but it was because of a turtle. And you hear the driver say, They stopped for a turtle. And I just thought, it's kind of an insignificant thing, in the wide world of trucking. But sometimes you got to stop for a turtle and, just take a minute to enjoy where you are and what's going on. And sometimes it may be born of an incident and sometimes not. But our safety team has adopted the of Terry the truck and turtle, and he is so much fun. And so this year we unveiled a 4-foot tall version of our Terry the turtle. And I think that there's a lot of good things. When you kind of create a mascot, it gives you something to cheer for, and it unifies you as a team. And it's really been a lot of fun for us since the summit. But he was unveiled the night of the banquet, and it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Tracy is not exaggerating. Like, this massive turtle is unveiled in the middle of this, and there was dancing, there were sparkly outfits, like jackets, and just so much fun and just joy with the whole team. A lot of award ceremonies I've been to have just been like kind of drab and dull. But this was, really just a celebration. And I just love just that spirit of joy, just at work. So one of the things that you had touched on in your pre-call, Tracy, was that Garrison cares about drivers, and there's 2 types of employees at Garrison. So what are those 2 types of employees, and why do you think about it that way?
So we do think that there are 2 types of employees in trucking, and I think that as we see this be adopted through the industry, it's making a difference for our drivers. And I believe that when you kind of put the refocus back on, am I going to drive the tractor? Or am I going to support the person who drives the tractor? There's a million ways to do that. But when you categorize the 2 types of employees within a trucking company or contractors, however your company is structured, if you are driving the truck, then you need support. You need support in the shop. You need support. You need somebody to meet you at the door when you get here and say, how can we service your tractor? Sometimes it's just a preventative maintenance. Sometimes it's because there's been a breakdown. But the person who meets you at the door, meets you in the bay, meets you in the oil lane, the safety lane, whatever it may be, the goal, when it aligns, should be the support of that driver. If I do my very best at correcting whatever this mechanical issue is, that driver is safer, the driver is on time, the driver is able to generate more revenue. If I'm the driver manager and I sit down at my desk and I've got a ton of loads that need to be assigned to a tractor and I've got to figure out feasibility, and I do that from a place of supporting the driver. Well, this driver's got Little League on Tuesday, so I don't want to give them this load. And this driver's got a doctor's appointment on Thursday, or, this driver's got 3 weeks to run. Let's put him on a longer load or, a longer run. If those tasks are done from the position of how am I best supporting the driver, then that driver in turn supporting us is a no-brainer. Like, their actions they're going to have an easier time of it, less areas of complication. And I think it really keeps us on focus of every single thing I have to do is significant because it is driver focused. There are no insignificant things that have to be done. If I'm a custodian over in our driver's lounge and I know that some drivers are going to get here at 3 a.m. and need clean towels, if I'm putting the towels out for the purpose of supporting the driver so that they can get a full 10-hour rest break, it's not just folding towels anymore. It's about the person that's going to impact. And I have seen that over the last several years make a big difference in our culture shift at Garrison. Garrison was well on its way to establishing the culture that you see here today. And I couldn't be more proud that when we have our industry friends come in, that's what you leave talking about. So Garrison decided who it was, put it down on paper, did the work, wrote a mission, put their vision out, established their core values. And that's not easy to get a group of people to align on who are we. And so when we really started focusing on how do we breathe life into that, it was if I am, if community is the core value that I'm working on today, or the thing that I'm going to be involved in today, am I the driver or am I the person who needs support today? We say at Garrison that we build our legacy one drive at a time. And I think something that has translated well outside of the cab is I have to determine what my drive is every day. Today, my drive is meeting with you to do a podcast and hope that, we leave little tidbits of goodness around by doing a great podcast today. But tomorrow I'll be with some drivers who need some remedial training. And so my drive will be different tomorrow. And I think that Garrison and our leadership team does a really good job of keeping us focused on, if you're not driving the truck, then your function is to support the person who drives the truck, whether that is a clean financial statement at the end of the month or an on-time, fuel tax payment, or, the things that keep our drivers moving. And I think having that adopted so well has made even a larger impact than I could have wished for or hoped for, because it is vitally important that your support staff, the people who are outside of the cab, understand there's no insignificant thing that you're going to do today. There's not an insignificant phone call you're going to make. There's not an insignificant cup of coffee you're going to share with the driver today. And I think that it keeps us energized.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So only two types of employees. There's the people driving the truck and the employees who support the driver. I just love that. So one of the things, again, I was just blown away. Ginger and I talked about it for weeks after the summit. Just the positive culture, just from when we walked in, just the warm environment and just the smiles on all the faces. Again, we're going through presentations on safety like this, but still just the passion and excitement and fun. How do you create, because I think this all rises and falls on leadership. So how, Tracy, have you created just a great culture in safety and HR at Garrison?
So the people make it easier. They really have adopted, their support role, and having a great team with me makes it just fun. I know you and I have talked some that kind of one of my little life mottos is, if it ain't fun, I ain't going. And so I try to say that, if I'm going to ask you to sit with me in a safety summit and learn about being prepared to defend our company in litigation, which is not fun, and I don't know a way that you could make it fun. But the thing is if you're well prepared, then at least it's not fun. So maybe when you take on that kind of thought process is I want to be somewhere that I enjoy being. So I feel like I'm making a good investment of my time. And I think that it drives us to really know the difference in happy. Am I happy? Am I emotional? Or am I joyful? Am I truly satisfied in what I'm doing?
So what is the difference between like happy and joyful?
Well, happy comes quickly and it goes quickly. And joyful is, to me, a state of mind. It's a determination that I've made in my heart that I'm going to serve joyfully. Whether I feel like it, whether my emotions are doing that thing today or not, there is joy in it. Seeing my safety team be successful in a coaching call with the driver who we never see that repeat behavior, or my HR team being able to sit down with the driver who, is coming in because they need employee assistance, because they have something going on in their family, and have them walking away feeling fully supported. There's joy in that because we're pointed at the people. And I know for just a thing that you hear is people are the point. They're not the problem. And when we are able to be well prepared for those conversations, we're going to get it wrong. People are going to make errors, and knowing that and being free to recover from those errors and then have a better outcome or an easier outcome the next time, I think is how you get to joy and satisfaction. Our driver engagement team has adopted that over the last year or so, and I'm still prompted to tell you about that because, for a long time in our industry, we heard that happy drivers don't leave. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, well, what if they don't have a Hebrew National hot dog at the Flying J and they only have Nathan's Famous? Then that's, I can't be responsible for the happiness. If I'm happy, if they have, Strawberry Monster versus only the Vanilla Monster in the cooler, or you just can't. There are certain things that we can take on responsibility for, but whether or not our team is satisfied is driven from, are we doing a good job as a leadership team and saying, this is the expectation. This is how we're going to educate you to meet that expectation. And this is how we're going to coach you when we have a failure. And knowing that going in, I think as long as we are open to being coached, all of us included, and saying, we did the thing and we got the job done and we had a successful outcome, but it could have been so much easier. There could have been less obstacles if we had done it this way, or if we had put things in a different order. I think knowing that is how we drive our teams to being satisfied and joyful is kind of eliminating happiness from our equation and saying happiness is going to be between you and the Lord, or you and whatever your source is. And satisfaction is something that I can absolutely drive. And being joyful in that is a decision that I can make every day. And I think, monkey see, monkey do. When you have a team of people who say, no matter what happens today, no matter what happens in the next 10 minutes on the next phone call, we're going to be joyful in that. We're going to get to a point of satisfaction. It just makes the road smoother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because and there's been just a bunch of doom and gloom in the industry for the last couple of years. It has been really hard on everybody in the industry, and yeah. So with that, it's just so refreshing. Like I said again, just coming into that room and just feeling it from everyone on your team, like from leadership to just every position, every role. And so that's why I'm asking these questions around that. And yeah, I was just super impressed by that. So what I have as the Tracyisms, which you started to touch on that, which these are just kind of principles that define who you are, is if I'm not going to have fun, I'm not going to do it, which I hope we have fun on this show today. And I always have fun just talking with you and learning and growing. And then the second one is the best version of myself is joyful. And then the last is like the kind of happy versus joyful that you had just explained. So one of the things I noticed when we hopped on this call was there was like a little creature behind you with a hat on. Can you show us that and explain it? And for those of you on audio, we have a yellow little creature with a hat on. So Tracy's going to explain what that is.
Yeah, so our fuzzy friend is Nugget. He is one of the mascots of Luma, which is our learning management system. And I told Aaron, yesterday was my birthday, and they had a birthday hat. And I said, just to get a few more days of fun out of it, Nugget's going to wear it for a few days. But this was one of the major draws for me to Luma was that's fun. That learning management system is fun. And they're still going to talk about get out and look. And they're still going to talk about speed. And they're still going to talk about, lane departure. They're still going to talk about all the things that are safety driven, but it's fun. And Gina Anderson's team does a good job about gamification, but we're just sucking a few more days of fun out of this birthday because at my age, they may be less fun, but we're having a good time. And so Nugget's going to wear the birthday hat for the rest of the week.
When did you get Nugget?
Nugget has been with us, Nugget and Brush, his little blue friend over on this side, I guess almost 2 years ago. And the funnest thing was we put Nugget in a truck with one of our drivers, and she was able to take pictures of him sitting out on the truck, sitting in the truck, sitting at the truck stop, everywhere she went. And I thought, that's a good kickoff for something that's new, right? Because we were switching learning management systems, and that's not always going to be easy. But I thought, let's make it fun. And so it was kind of like where's Waldo? And it was like, where's Nugget today? And we had a Samsara tracker app, and it was with our childhood cancer awareness trucks, because we had a couple of the kids who were featured on the truck say, I want to know where my truck is. And so we put a number on the truck and let them track Samsara, where they could see where their face was today. And little pictures of Nuggets were coming in on social media, and it was a lot of fun. So it just kept us connected to those kids and their stories a little more intimately for a while. Those tractors, I know your mom was here with us and got to see one on the yard. They tell a great story and help us support those heroes, those childhood cancer survivors on those tractors. And so we got to use Nugget in that way. And I think that really kind of brought a new energy for our drivers to say, it matters if I'm safe on the road or not, because one of those kids could be en route to, school or doctor's appointment or soccer practice or whatever. And it just humanizes. We're not just shipping boxes of goods around. We're affecting the motoring public every day. And what impression we leave, it can be a millisecond of an impression that we get to leave, but we want them to remember that when they had an interaction with Ari Garrison, it was fun and it meant something and it was personal.
Mm-hmm. So is that Ari Garrison Gives Hope that you're talking about?
That our benefit fleet supports, yes. So Garrison Gives Hope, we were talking a little bit before, but it was born from tragedy. One of our owners, Wiles Griffith's father, and their family was affected by tragedy that was driven by a mental health issue. And it's really just a beautiful story of how there was beauty from the ashes of that. And Garrison Gives Hope raises money to support the mental health initiatives and awarenesses in our community. One of our wrap trucks is the green and white Garrison Gives Hope mental health awareness truck. And so we've more or less branded that fleet for the benefit fleet, and they're not all around mental health. We have an autism awareness truck, a Back the Blue truck. Our core values are on a truck. We have a military support truck, a breast cancer awareness truck, 2 childhood cancer awareness trucks. And it's just about focusing on our core value of community and the things that affect the Ari Garrison family and driving awareness and support to those initiatives. And so that koozie that you have was one of the Garrison Gives Hope golf tournament giveaways this year. And it's very hard to think about Garrison Gives Hope separate from Garrison Trucking for me now because it's so intertwined. I saw an email pass just a few seconds ago, actually, that says the Garrison Gives Hope fundraiser this month is our customer service group is hosting the Ari Garrison Olympics, and apparently it's Office Olympics. And our employees will be paying entry fees, I think, to win cash and prizes. And then the benefits of that will support Garrison Gives Hope. And our employees, drivers included, have a Garrison Gives Hope benefit assigned to a different department for every month of the year. And it just does what it does for keeping our team engaged is huge, because it's about serving. And that's when you feel your best, is when you're serving others. And so I think that's married to trucking is a phenomenal for me, that you can take worker bees and marry them to a service organization like Garrison Gives Hope and move a mountain to have a trucking fund. You can move a mountain when these trucks get, millions of impressions, and there's a QR code on the truck, and a passerby at a Walmart can, support your initiative. It's huge.
That's awesome. So you have cancer awareness, mental awareness, and then what other trucks do you have?
We have the military truck. We have the Back the Blue truck. We have breast cancer awareness, autism, mental health awareness. I'll probably be missing one. I'm trying to think of what they all are. And then we have our childhood cancer awareness trucks, which are a set of sibling trucks, because Bodie's Transport is part of the Garrison family now. And so one of those trucks runs under their banner.
Today's sponsor. Do you hire truck drivers in hard to fill areas, or do you need help creating efficiency in your recruiting department? You're not alone. With 50 plus years experience, Trucking Clicks specializes in data-driven strategies, industry-leading customer experience, and custom solutions that'll get you to your goal. Trucking Clicks is your go-to place for high-quality, direct leads at scale. Visit truckingclicks.com or call 512-982-0816 today. One of the things, I met Clayton at the dinner, your driver onboarding manager, and one of the things, like he just touched on just that whole process, and I was just really impressed with it. I want to hear a little bit about just your thoughts around a red carpet experience and unreasonable hospitality, and like what you guys do to go above and beyond with that driver onboarding experience.
So I think that when Clayton took driver onboarding, which was not an easy sale. Clayton came from law enforcement. He's had Alabama before. He was a former Alabama state trooper. And when I said, I want you to welcome our drivers and let's have fun, and he was going, we're going to talk about safety. We're going to talk about fuel management. We're going to talk about all the things. And I said, we can do it that way. It's effective. But wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be fun if we did it this way? And I think the first thing that Clayton brought to me, he said, I want to know these drivers. I want them to know when they leave and get on the road, I want them to remember my face, have my number, and call me, and then I can be the person that directs them where they need to go. Remember one guy, we can do that. But you're going to see 20 people during orientation. Somebody from every department's coming through. And he said, I want to break bread with the drivers. And I thought, how in the world? What are we going to do? And so we got our driver engagement team together, and we were like, y'all, these drivers are going to be on site with us for 2 days. And we want to break bread with them 3 meals a day while they're here. Can we do this? And a resounding yes, we can do it. Whatever. And that's a core value at Garrison. Yes, we can. So immediately it was like a little beehive, and the hum started, and they got a local cafe on board that's friends of Garrison. And we bring in breakfast and lunch, and then have dinner from, sometimes we're here, sometimes we're at the cafe, sometimes we're having sandwiches. But to break bread with them and then say, who are the people that you need to be intimate with? By and large, you're not going to be intimate with IT, or hopefully you're not going to be intimate with claims unless it's needed. But your driver manager needs to have an intimate relationship with you. And so the buy-in from the other departments has been, it's one of those things that you can just step back from and go, I never would have imagined that it would be that fun. But the operations team goes down and has breakfast with our drivers, and they get to know them and say, where are you from? How many kids you have? How long have you been driving? And then they go back to their boards when our drivers start the next session, and they go, I think this personality aligns with this driver manager. I think that personality aligns with this driver manager. And what we've seen is the time that it takes to acclimate that driver to Garrison has significantly been reduced because we're taking that human and saying, we have a good human who does some things like you. Let's try that instead of just going, oh, well, you're from, this town, USA, anywhere USA, and this guy has freight in that part of the world. That still matters. But if we have two people who have freight in that area and one of them, speaks kids baseball better than one who may speak, church choir, then we mix those things around better. And so that was the first thing that Clayton did. And so that really fell into place and the kinks got worked out. It wasn't without obstacles like anything was to, sometimes we have 10 drivers here, sometimes we have 30 drivers here, depending on if we picked up a new lane or, you just never know. So getting those moving parts. And then I went back to some things I had learned previously. I shared with you that several years ago, probably 15 years ago or more now, a friend of mine in the industry shared a book with me. And I thought about it after you. Paula was an HR manager at another trucking company. And so she and I knew each other through the trucking association, but her husband was a hospital administrator. And she said, he brought me this book. And that was so 9.5 things you would do differently if Disney ran your hospital. And she's like, you got to read this book. It's going to make a big difference. And so I was like, I can read a book about a hospital. So read the book about 9.5 things that you would do differently if Disney ran your hospital. And I really started thinking about the anticipation that builds when you're going on a Disney vacation and the things that you expect from a Disney vacation versus a local fairground. And so I started sharing some of those things with Clayton, and he has done a really good job of turning our driver onboarding into what we call the red carpet event. It starts every Monday morning. We have a red carpet event, lasts for 2 days. And it's like, this is when we bring our very best. Not that we all don't want to always bring our best, but on Monday mornings, that team is on. They are excited. And, we could have a million things going on that are going to negatively impact day one, and they are still having that 9 a.m. parade, and they're still having fireworks at 8, and they're still, the things that you expect from Disney. And it really has turned into a red carpet event, and the drivers leave orientation knowing, you know what, I'm going to be on the road. It's the same road I've driven my entire career. The truck stops are going to be the same truck stops. The trucks are the same. All those things are the same. But when they get to do the same thing again with a new level of excitement and a renewed passion for their choice, it seems to last longer when it's that fun. And we keep going back to fun. But when you have that much fun for 2 days, we see those classes of drivers build camaraderie between themselves because they're immediately part of the Crown Driver program then, and they're all marching towards the same goals. And they spur each other on to greatness, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
That's awesome. I need to read that book, 9.5 Things to Do Differently. What was it? If the hospital, Disney.
If Disney ran your hospital.
Disney ran your hospital. And then my dad is in hospital administration, so I wonder if he's ran.
I bet you can borrow the book from him.
I love that. And what Tracy's saying, isn't just all talk. Again, I was in the room a few weeks ago with Ginger, and you could just feel all this with their team, that joy and excitement. One of the things, Tracy, that I heard come up a few different times that you don't always hear in the corporate context was your faith. You mentioned Jesus a couple times, or several times. And Jesus is really important to me. And that's why I do all I do, is for him and his kingdom. So, I would love for you just to touch on that. How does faith kind of impact your day-to-day work at Garrison?
I think that there is no separation. I say when you've been trucking this long, some things come natural. And when you've been walking with the Lord as long as I have, some things just, in him I live and move and have my being. And there's just no separating the two. And I know that in today's age, it is very important to use the correct vocabulary, because what we want is to love first, right? No matter what the task at hand is that I want to be sure that when you have spent time with me, that I have done my service to my King and given you a glimpse of love, whatever that looks like. And sometimes it's tough love. Sometimes it is, we want you to be part of our team, but this is how you can be successful in that. And then being stern enough in our faith and convictions to say, and if we can't align, if we cannot meet your expectation, if you can't meet our expectation, then we want you to be successful. It's just going to have to be somewhere else. And I think that, getting to a place where you're comfortable enough in your team and your company and your leadership to say, it's okay to say, yes, we can, but should we? Should we allow a driver to interact poorly at our customers' places of business? Should we allow our drivers to be aggressive at a public place? Should we allow our office employees to be disrespectful to one another? The answer to that will be a resounding no. And I think that is because for me, in Him I live, in Him I move, and in Him I have my being. And I know that those uncomfortable conversations are going to have to happen where I say, on this, I will be stoic. On this, I will be immovable. On fair treatment of drivers, I will be immovable. And knowing that I have the privilege of being aligned with a company and a leadership team who says, good and right and true are good and right and true. And those things we don't get to vote about. Those are just, the truth is the truth. And I think that having to be in a place where I can be that free is a privilege, and not taking it for granted, and not walking around thinking that everybody has it like we have it at Garrison. You said it earlier, you have gone into many carriers and industry partners where not that their cultures are bad cultures, they're just not our culture. And we are very privileged to be not only allowed, but truly expected to thrive and to build those relationships. And that's kingdom building, is to build those relationships and leave our mark, give glimpses of love that a human couldn't generate on their own. And I think that's the place that, Clayton, for example, that he serves from. And, he's a joy to watch because, full disclosure, the trucks aren't always ready. If we had trucks turned in on Saturday or Sunday, trucks aren't always ready. And to be able to say, we offered you a position to drive, we're going to make that happen. But in the meantime, here's some things that we can do to ease this transition for you, and to know that is going to be in full service to that human for those 2 days, and say, I'll take that job. That's huge. I think our operations team, our driver managers, it's a privilege to work alongside of that group of people who their job is to move freight, to generate revenue. But to watch them do it with such grace, and to have those drivers feel truly appreciated. Because our driver managers understand they're not going to drive the tractor. They got to support the person who drives the tractor. To watch those drivers outperform our expectations every time because they feel fully supported, that's a benefit of being in a place where your faith can grow.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It's just to love and care deeply. And you said that the drivers experience like appreciation and they feel that. Well, that only starts like from a position of like, you genuinely appreciate them and care about them as humans. Like, because that's how, in How to Win Friends and Influence People, is like express sincere or authentic appreciation or something like that. But it's basically just the premise of like, it has to come, like, never say something like positive if you don't mean it, like, because you can read right through that. And so your drivers are just feeling that in the people, just coming out, that they're not just saying I care, because everyone says I care, but it's their actions and just their motive behind it and their joy behind it. What I've really enjoyed about this conversation, like one of the many things, is just that I didn't really think about it going into, was the contrast between like joy and accountability, right? Like, so you're simultaneously, when you're explaining joy and excitement, which a lot of people I think is like in the absence of accountability and just complete freedom and no structure, where you're like, it's actually the opposite. like you're establishing clear expectations, like super, super clear, and addressing things head on. And then through that, having joy. So there's more accountability and more proactive communication of like ownership of I did this, or confronting an issue you have with somebody by going directly to them. And it's just really cool. I haven't really thought about that contrast before, because I haven't heard it so quickly tied from like joy to accountability. So that's something I'm going to kind of ponder and think about even more, just because I think that it's just so important, and it's working, right? Because your team because it wasn't just you up there speaking the whole time at the safety summit. It was vendors, it was partners that know your culture, it was all the people on your team, and they all echoed the same recurring principles that they know. Just even your vendors and partners know that about you guys. And so
when you think about if I can be joyful in the times that I am joyful, it is when everybody wants to win, right? Like that's born in, regardless of your faith, everybody wants to win. And that, I think that only comes when there's a clear expectation set. And we say, as part of this expectation, there's going to be a period of education, training, right? That's sports analogies, all kinds of things about the ways to win in life. And if we do a good job, even with me, if my leadership sets a clear expectation for me and then educates me, fills my toolbox with the things, and then I get to win, then joy is born from that. Because, and I also am guilty of this, of not giving a task the weight that it deserves. From, if I set an expectation, I just send you out, hey Aaron, I want you to come recruit drivers for Garrison. And then I say, but I need to educate you on, here's the platforms that we use, and here's our timeline, and here's our pay, and here's what our levels of acceptability are. And I just send you out and expect you to win from that. I'm not going to be joyful if you fail, and you're absolutely not going to be joyful. So I think that for me, there is, like, I couldn't separate the two anymore. That to know that education, that's how leveling up and winning is born, and that I have to find joy in that too, because I want the win. And so can't just get to the end and do a happy dance, because it's going to end, right? At some point, somebody's going to say, pack up and go home, and then the happy is over. But the joy will walk with you. Like, if you get to pocket that win as personal, it will go with you.
Yeah. When I started out this company, I was sharing with a mentor of mine, like when I started Craddock Holdings 5 years ago, before we got back into trucking, just the original company. And one of the things, like, I was talking about all my goals, like I want to build X size company and all these things. And he's like, what's your why? And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean, what's your why? And he's like, you have to have a why to like sustain you, like in the hard times. And because there's going to be hard times building a business, and like multiple, more than you even think. And so I did an exercise on the why. And then simultaneously, like in that same season, I had several people like mentors and friends say, like, enjoy the journey, Aaron. Because I'm just so serious about, like, okay, we got to 10x again. And then we got to 10x again, and we got to do this. And they're like, Aaron, like, whenever you hit that goal, like, which you may or may not hit, you probably will, like, that's going to be a day, like a moment, a fleeting moment. Like, you can't, like, you have to enjoy the process. And so that's what I hear in you, is like, it's like through that expectation, education, winning, and joy, like it's like through all of those things that you're able to just have this recurring environment of just joy and education. Because I literally saw like joy in education, just as we're going through just safety and compliance. And then it was fun. And enjoyed hearing from the Luma crew too. And it was just really impressed with all the stuff they're coming out with, all that educational resources, and just the spirit they operate from as well. So anything else, Tracy, that I should have touched on today that I have not touched on yet?
Not that I can think of, but it has been a lot of fun visiting with you today and getting to share with you how great the Garrison team is. I couldn't say any more about them. I'm so glad that you and Ginger both got to be here with us for the Safety Summit. It was our first summit that we invited in some of our vendors and industry partners. What I'm hearing with you is that knowing who Garrison is will help you serve us and our drivers better. That's a win for me. And I hope that, us being able to partner with you and Trucking Clicks and our friends over at Luma, that we do continue to improve the driving job. That's our goal. You said, what's your why? I was asked that many years ago. What was my why? Why would female from, central Mississippi want to grow up and be a trucker? And I thought, it really got planted in my heart early on that it's super fast to move the gospel in a truck and impact all the lives that driver will touch along the way. And it's not always been easy, but it has been so fun, and it is a source of joy for me and my family. We're all part of the trucking community. And I think that, that's my why. And I think for you and your team and your listeners, determine your why, because it will be what drives you to win. And regardless of, I always get a lot of chastisement from my family and my church family and saying, you say regardless of your faith. But the thing is that there's not a faith that will drive you to not be a great person, to not be a good person. They're all driving towards goodness. And I hope that, you see Jesus' goodness and get a glimpse of it in interaction with our team. And, and me, it's a tough job and you have to be careful with it. But ultimately, kingdom work is the best work you can do.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you again so much for your time, Tracy. And I will talk to you later.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today. Our goal with the Hire Truckers podcast is to provide industry insights, marketing trends, and motivation to level up your recruiting game. If we added value, take a few seconds to share this with your network. Have a great week.